Hey guys, Doug Giles here. It's Warriors, Rich.
And Wildmen, what's happening, Big Doug? Whoa, let's do this thing.
Look at that little safari cigar action.
Rub it in,
It's
rub it in.
It's a beautiful little box press Maduro wrap sandwich of love and
I smoked one
tastiness.
last night, by the way.
Woo! How many you got left, man?
I don't know. I'd have to check. It's classified. Never share those types of things.
We got a huge shipment coming in. Hopefully any day now. And
You see that
la.
You see the oldest living combat vet, 112, just turned 112 the other day.
Yeah, he lives here in Austin.
Smokes a dozen cigars a day, Doug.
And drinks whiskey.
A dozen. I just read it in Cigar Aficionado the other day, and he literally smokes 12 cigars a day.
Right. So did George Burns, and I like what Burns, this guy asked him when I think he was like 100 or something. He goes, "So George, what does your doctor think about you smoking, so many cigars every day?" And he goes, "I don't know. He died 30 years ago."
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's good.
I like
Mark
what
Twain,
Church.
You know how many cigars Mark Twain smoked a day?
Tell me.
Between 20 and 25 cigars a day.
But he only did one at a time, though.
That's getting it on, though. You think he said?
I like what
the only
Carlos.
thing that's worth the only thing you should stop to do to not smoke a cigar is eating and sleeping. Other than that, it's a perfect time to smoke a cigar.
I like what Carlos Davidoff of the Davidoff cigar fame said. He goes, "If your wife doesn't like you smoking cigars, get a new wife."
My wife smokes cigars. That's how she rolls. You know what's funny? And Annie will laugh. I'm telling on her a little bit, but Annie's a beautiful woman. Red lipstick, blonde hair, blue eyes, and
She's a cutie.
And she fires up a big old Maduro cigar and just starts smoking it. And you see guys, it's awesome because they're like, "What the heck? She's more of a man than me, and she's obviously a woman." And anyway, Annie was on vacation back with her family in Montana, visiting her mom for Mother's Day, and she was sitting around with her grandmother, and all the family was outside around the fire, and Annie fires up a cigar, boom, and her grandmother was like, "Annie,
You're Calamity Jane."
She said, "Annie," she said, you smoke cigars? You smoke? I can't even believe it." She goes, "Yeah, I've been smoking cigars for years, 3 or 4 years." Her brother goes, 5 or 6 years, longer than that. She goes, "Yeah, I don't know. I smoke cigars all the time." She goes, "Well, I can't even." Then she says, "You know what? Maybe I can." She says, "Maybe I can believe it because you might not know this, but your great grandma used to sit around smoking a corncob pipe and taking shots of whiskey." And Annie said, "Well, that explains a lot."
Hey, I don't. You know what? I saw this thing on Instagram yesterday. I can't remember who posted it. I sent it over to Hannah and Reed, and I think the title of the meme was "Rethink Your Drink." And so it had a bottle of water, and then it had various energy drinks, and then it got into like Mountain Dew and like Dr. Pepper and stuff. If people think, "Oh man, you drinking whiskey, that's the devil's brew, it'll kill you." Look at the amount of sugar that's in that stuff. That is more addictive than cocaine, more damaging to your body. I think Dr. Pepper, and look, I'm not legalistic. If I want to drink a Coke, I'll frickin' drink a Coke. I'm not going to die over it.
But it's not part of your regular, yeah.
Yeah, it's not my, intake. And again, I'd rather have a beer any day, a good proper beer any day than a soft drink. I'd rather have a splash of whiskey any day over Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Bro, 12 tablespoons of sugar in Dr. Pepper. 12. 1, 2.
That's disgusting.
3, 4, 12, man. Unbelievable. No. And just that visual is like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to touch any of that stuff.
Any of that. That's disgusting.
Hey, let's switch topics, Rich, and kick it into gear. You brought up something interesting this morning, and I think the Warriors and Wildmen folks are going to dig it. The importance, rather, of coaches in sports and kids in this snowflake generation. Where when I lived in Miami, it's so funny because raised in Texas, we were hellions, man. I was hell on 2 skinny legs. We jumped ramps. We did all kinds of stuff. Bailed off 2-story houses, just crazy crap. We'd get in the top of a huge tree and jump off on trampolines. I did that one night at a party. Everybody's kind of liquored up, and we're about 13 or 14 years old. I split the trampoline tarp with my skinny pencil-like body and slammed my head on the bar, broke my nose, 2 black eyes, black gums, chipped a tooth, and that was normative.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, "You dumbass," and nothing like, "Oh, Johnny, here, wear this helmet, wear knee pads, wear elbow pads, and slather me with antibacterial gel everywhere I went." That's doing more to make kids victims and non-butt kickers in
life. And
life.
afraid of everything.
Yeah, and again, you look at your grandkid, and it's like, "Oh, shit, get off the fence," and it's like, his bones are rubbery. He'll take a tumble. He'll break an arm.
Have you ridden any of the rides on top of the Stratosphere in Vegas?
No.
They have one called the Slingshot, and the tower in Vegas, the Stratosphere, is 1,100 and something feet. Just straight up, right? And right on top of that is a ride that goes straight up, and you're outside strapped to this thing, and they shoot you straight up in the air, and you can't see the tower below you at all. And I went to ride on that. I was like, no big deal. I jump on this ride, right? Well, I take off, and all I can see is the desert. And now I'm like 1,200 feet above the ground, flying straight up in the air. Everything in my body is screaming at me, telling me that I'm going to die. Right. And my mind is like, this is a ride. People do it every day. I'm okay. And my body's going, shut up, we're going to die, right? It was the craziest feeling. I was so afraid. When we got down, I was so mad. I walked straight down the stairs. I went and bought another ticket, went and got in line, and I rode it again. And if something makes me afraid, I'm conquering it. Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be scared. Some stupid ride. I rode it again second time. Told my friends, let's go ride this ride again. They're like, I'm never riding that ride again. But you know what? When we go through fear in life, that's a normal thing. Kids go through fear. You have to overcome your fear. They say fall off the horse. What we got to do? Back in the saddle. That's, right. I know a guy that was a free fall instructor for the Army, for Special Forces and stuff, and he had a chute fail. It actually got twisted, and I saw the video of it. I saw his helmet cam of the video of it. It's incredible. So he's spinning, his chute is twisted, and you can't throw, you have to cut that chute away before you throw your other chute, because it'll get caught up in the chute, right? So he's trying to get his chute to release. He's doing all that, and he's trying to slow his body down. They open their arms and legs, try to slow their spin, right? And you see the world going around and getting closer, right? It's pretty insane. And then he's trying to get this thing off, and it finally, you see him look up, and you see the chute go and fly away. And then he goes to get the reserve, pops the reserve, Doug. He's still spinning too fast, and it twists it up.
Ugh.
I saw the video. I'm watching it with the dude. Spoiler alert, he lived, because I'm watching it with him. And you see this thing, and he's got it open up like that, and he's trying to get this chute, and it opens up something like 200 or 300 feet above the ground, like not that high. And he comes in and he lands, right? As soon as he lands, they pull up in a Jeep, throw off all that stuff. They drive him straight back to the tarmac, give him another chute, and they throw him on that plane. Literally, Doug, immediately took him up there, and he jumped out of that plane. They know that if you get afraid, you can get all locked up. They literally did it. But I asked him this. I said, hey, were you afraid? And he goes, no. I said, you weren't? I would be terrified. He said, it made me a little afraid later. He said, but I'd done my devotional that morning. The Lord gave me a verse. I was concentrating on that verse that day. When I was going down, I thought of the verse, and then my training kicked in. I didn't have time to be afraid. I focused on my training. I conquered it. When I got down, I was a little nervous. They put me back on the plane, jumped out. I'm good to go. That's what we got to do with fear. That's why sports are important. Sports are terrifying.
Then again, there's, I think it was Miss North Carolina, in 2002, I believe, maybe a little later. She had a horrible fear of heights and doing that kind of stuff. And so she went skydiving, and she died.
What?
Her chute didn't deploy, and what she feared, like Job said, came upon her and splat.
There's
man.
kind of a good. She didn't let her fear conquer her. She just kind of got conquered by gravity. But the reality is when you played sports, were you ever nervous, like before a competition, especially like some type of one-on-one sport? Like in wrestling, it's weird. Like you're getting ready to go out, and it's not like a team thing like baseball. Like here we go, guys. It's like
it's on you, man.
Everybody cheers for you, and then they throw you out there by yourself, and then you're looking at the other guy, you're like, here we go, and there's this fear. But when you conquer that fear, it develops something in you. Sports are so important. It's like life. I mean, we know that. The Bible uses it as an analogy multiple times for life.
Yeah, coaching, when you brought up that topic, I was like, shoot, I think I'm bankrupt, and then I start, digging back into the bong resin clogged synapses of my memory. And I was big into baseball, That was my sport. I'm small, so football. I did great as a wide receiver, but oh my God, when those big mooks got a hold of me, it was snap, crackle, and pop. So baseball was my forte. Excelled at it. And but Rich, I got to tell you, man, as a young rapscallion, I know you won't believe this, but oh boy, did I have a temper. And,
You still have a temper.
yeah, and what's funny is I don't know if our Warriors and Wildmen audience is gonna carbon 14 test me way back to the Neolithic time period. I grew up with Bad News Bears with with Walter Matthau and Jodie Foster, and I can't remember. And I sat back and I literally took notes of how they would throw fits on the field if they struck
funny.
out or they made a bad play or they didn't like a umpire call. Then man, it was on. And and Rich, that was me. I was a great pitcher. Had a natural curve because I threw sidearm. When I'd rotate my hand going to the left, had a wicked, absolutely vicious screwball that would just completely jack with left-handed batters really bad, and I enjoyed it greatly. Always hit in either 1, 2, 3, or 4 slot. I wasn't a big power hitter, but I'm on base all the time. And my coach was just like, "Dude, you got some sick talent." And yet I would get into fights on the field. I would bean batters if they were talking smack to me. I'd knock the helmet, Rich. I'd knock the helmet off their head. If I stole a base and got called out, I threw dirt in the umpire's face, cussed, started crying, walked out off the field and went into my dad's car, and everybody had to beg me to get back on the field and play. And you know what? Most people, or a lot of coaches, and I had one of them, they would just say, "You're done. We're not even going to play you. We're not going to deal with your crap." But my coach, John, man, he worked me psychologically, and he got me to temper all that stuff and put it into discipline and exercise. I'm telling you what, if it weren't for him, I would have probably gone into drugs a lot sooner. When I got the bad coach, Rich, who wouldn't put up with my stuff, even though I was a top player. And listen, there's times where you got to call the kid in.
Yeah.
But he put a ball bag on my head and told me to sit in the dugout with a ball bag on my head. And you know what? I picked my crap up and I never played sports again and went straight into heavy drug use.
Wow.
Because of that coach. And he had a son that was my age, that I was a better player than him, and he wanted my position. And so he just shamed me out of participating. Did I deserve it? I don't know. A ball bag on the head? That was weird. But one coach good got greatness out of me. Mm-hmm. One coach bad, I split. So I don't know if that's a great analogy or a great example, but coaching, mentoring, and pastoring is humongous.
No, it's huge. It makes impacts in these kids' lives. And I think it's important, especially nowadays, probably more than ever, that parents get their kids involved in sports because, these kids aren't doing anything. They're sitting around on their stupid phones. I literally I want to slap the phone out of the hands of any kid that I see on their stupid phones. They're on their phones constantly 24/7. They need to be in a sport. They need to be exercising. They need to learn about competition. They need to learn, I found out they wanted me to be a good sport, and what I found out what that meant, because I'm a gracious winner. If I beat you, I'll congratulate you, tell you how much I respect you. You're the best person I ever competed against, whether it's true or not. If I lose, I'm a butthole. So they say, we got to be a good sport. I'm like, well, I'm a great winner. Don't try to get me good at losing. That's how they teach. Those people that I shouldn't tell a story. I'm going to tell a story. There was a wrestling coach, and his son, I didn't go to that school at the time. I know these people, but I was not a part of the team at the time. His son was on the team. The coach is tough as hell. Son's not tough. Son goes out on the mat, gets pinned, and walks off the mat smiling and laughing after just getting decked. So as he's walking up, his dad walks up and smacks him across the face in front of everybody.
Boom.
Okay, so that might be a bad example of coaching. But the reality is, when you go to play, you play to win. They say, it's not whether you win or lose. That's bullcrap. Life is about winning and losing. And if you lose, you shouldn't be losing. You should be learning. Yeah. And so you should learn how to win. And so we need sports. These kids have to get in sports because it's like life. It's hard. life's hard. Yeah, but I'm tired. You're going to be tired.
Now, we're talking about redeeming time and doing all that other stuff. I got to make a confession, Rich. One of my favorite TV shows to watch is The Voice with Blake Shelton and Adam Levine, and they switch out, I think, Kelly Clarkson and, what's the other girl's name? Anyway, I can't remember right now. Alicia Key, that's who it is. And I'm watching them take these raw kids. I mean, some of them are older, so you don't really have an age restriction in The Voice. You just got to have this raw talent. And I watch these coaches, man, pull nothing but pure gold out of these people. And whether it's in sports or the arts, like with singing or painting, it's so huge to put yourself under somebody who's going to draw that gold out of you. It's going to be rebuke. It's going to be discipline. Mm-hmm. It's also going to be encouragement. If they really start to see the shiny thing start emitting from the dusty crust.
Yep.
But man, good coaches, good pastors, good mentors, good parents are worth their weight in gold.
Oh yeah.
My two daughters train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Pedro and Guy Valenti. And also with Hoist Gracie and Elio when he was still alive. They actually trained with the old man who started things. And
that's awesome.
Rich, aside from leading them to Christ and trying to steer them clear of this culture's fart cloud into a biblical worldview and living before the audience of one, the second smartest thing that I ever did was let Pedro and Guy coach my kids.
Yeah, that's cool.
Their values of greatness and discipline, aside from learning how to defend themselves and take out some ham-fisted wanker that wants to stick him in the back of his SUV and take him off to Never Never Land, the value aspect of what those two coaches did and their younger brother, Joaquin Valenti, unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean,
because there is a thing in sports when you get pushed to physical exhaustion. It's hard. I always tell people that perseverance is a great subject until you need it. And it's not perseverance until you want to quit. So you can't say, I'm persevering. Do you feel like quitting? No. Then you're not persevering. You're just living. It's that moment where you're like, I'm done. And then you keep going. That's perseverance. And that almost, there's other things it can teach you, but I don't know how you could learn that at a young age any better than physical activity, physical sports, especially for boys and girls, they need a combat sport. We have a thing for Fight Club in Yuma. That's our men's ministry for our church. And we have a rule there, Doug. You can't come to Fight Club if you've never been punched in the face. Because here's why, though. Seriously, it's this real thing. Here's why. Because men are so afraid that have never been punched in the face. They're so afraid because they have all these fears. They don't know what it's like. It's It's not as bad as you think it is. It's not that big of a deal. So we didn't mean to do this, but I ended up getting all these videos sent to me of these kids punching each other in the face. Like, check it out. I'm in. It's like, damn. And their friends were obliging them. They were smacking them, man. But you know what? It's like that's how life is. You kind of you can get thrown into it and be like a deer in the headlight, or you can be in sports and work through things and injuries and toughness and unfairness and favoritism and
there's a special funkiness, man, that a mature guy or girl coach brings to the equation that your peers just cannot afford you. And so it's great to have your peers. It's great to have your buddies. It's also good to have some tough drill sergeants that know how to make champions superintend what you're doing.
I had a wrestling coach in high school. His name's Dave Sampson, and just called him Samson. And he looks like that. He played football under Frank Kush. He's this big, huge guy, right? And he's mean. Me. He's mean. But now he's a deacon at the Catholic Church, and he preaches, and he loves people. He's awesome. But I know the mean Big Dave is still in there because he was mean to me. So I was in a match one time. I was at a tournament in Lake Havasu. My dad's there, everybody's there, family and stuff. And I'm in this match, and I'm winning, but this guy gets me in a cradle. Okay, I'm on my back, can't pin me with a cradle. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to put a little pressure on this guy and kind of lay here and rest, and I'm going to get him the next period and win. It's a tournament. I don't want to get all tired. And my coach is freaking out, like losing his mind. Get out of there! He's like screaming, And I literally told him this from the mat. Don't worry, coach, I got a plan. Let me just throw this out there. In wrestling, there's one plan. It's 100% box to wire. That's wrestling. If you have a plan that includes anything other than that, your coach is going to kill you for it. So anyway, I go through the period, get on the next period, and I win the match. I didn't pin the guy, but I won the match, and I won by points. I get out there, and I'm like, you saw my plan. It worked. I walked up to my coach. Honest truth, Doug, he punched me in the corner of the eye. Now, not like a full, like, bam, like trying to knock me out, but literally like a short, like, boom, like that, just right in the corner of my eye. And it stunned me. And I looked at him and he goes, you don't ever have a plan. Your plan is 100%. And standing next to my coach is my dad. I'm holding my eye. I'm in shock. And I look at my dad and he goes, listen to your coach. And he walks away. And I'm like, there's no help for me. So you know what I learned that day, Doug? It's 100%, baby. Ain't no plan. Ain't no plan. Get it on. And you know what? My dad didn't baby me and go, nowadays it'd be like, that's a lawsuit. He didn't hurt me. We're in wrestling. You know how many times I came out of wrestling with black eyes, busted lips, nose all torn up, mat burns all over? That's not going to hurt you, but people will freak out. You know what it did? It got my attention. It was like, bam, like what's going on? This guy was a tough coach. He was super hard. But you know what he did? He brings out toughness. Did you watch UFC on Saturday night?
No.
Saturday night, the main event was two chicks. And one is Amanda Nunes from Brazil and Raquel Pennington from, I think, Vegas. I think she's from Vegas, but she's from U.S. So they're going to fight. Amanda Nunes is champ. She's bigger, stronger. But this Rocky is her name, Rocky, this chick. She's a good boxer that thinks she has a chance, right? They get out in the fight. Doug, first 10 seconds, the champion, Amanda Nunes, kicks her with a leg kick, but on her calf. So hard that it drops her. The first kick of the fight. She hits the ground. She jumps back up. Her leg is destroyed. I mean, from one kick. 30 seconds later, bam, same spot, drops her on the ground. So she takes the leg out, lead leg of a boxer. Now you don't have footwork. Now you can't move. Now you can't post. That's great strategy, right?
Right.
So they go through the fight. She's getting beat up. It's a tough fight. Towards the end of the fourth round, the champion knees this chick in the face and breaks her nose. Bad. Not like, oh, I think my nose is broke. It's doing the C, the letter C, right? It's bad.
Right.
And the challenger, Rocky, she's doing good in the fight. She had some chances. You know what I mean? There were some times when you think, okay, maybe she can do it, right? So here's what happens. This is the whole thing. I'm telling the story to tell this. So between the fourth and fifth round, she's sitting there with her nose destroyed, blood pouring out of her face. She's sitting there, her legs tore up. And she stands up and turns around and tells her coach, I'm done. I want to be done. So she's going to call the fight, right? And she doesn't say it to the ref. She says it to her coach. Her head coach goes, no, you're not. Look at me. Look at me. She looks at him. He goes, no. You got this. Work through this. We'll recover tomorrow. Go out there and let it all go. Give it all you got. And she's like shaking her head no. He's like, hey, change your mind right now. Come on. And Doug, inside of me, I had such mixed feelings.
Right.
Because he is talking to his girl that finally made it to the championship fight. Last round. She's hurt. This is not a chick like, hey, I broke a nail, right? And she goes out there. The other chick takes her down and elbows her in the freaking face, dude.
Oh.
She turns over, Doug, and there's so much blood going. It's hideous, bro. It was so hard to watch. And I was like, oh, God, please stop the fight, right? And the chick on top is just wailing on her, and she's just covering up. She's just, and they stop the fight. Nose is exploded, right? So they have stuff all over it and everything. The whole MMA world, all the fans are yelling about the coaches. They should be fired, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. All that to say this. This is her response. This is what ESPN wrote this. She said, I know a lot of people are going against what they said and thinking all this different stuff, and it's easy to judge, but you never know what's happening in that moment, Pennington said. At the end of the day, my coaches know me best, and they know my toughness. They know what I can handle, and I trust my coaches with everything that I have, and they wouldn't put me in a situation I can't handle. She said, change your mindset. And then she said, the nose is broken. She said, I agreed with my coaches as soon as the fight was done. I agreed with them in that moment because at the end of the day, the ball was still in my court. I could have easily waved off the fight. I could have bent down and tapped out. I chose not to tap and pull my head out of my ace, basically, and not give up on myself. Because at the end of the day, when you give up, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So everybody's freaking out. And my response, look, man, it was hard. But I thought, it's not an eye. She's not cut on her eye. She's not gonna lose her eyesight. It's not an elbow or a knee's blown out. We're not talking about permanent damage. It's a broken nose. I mean, I don't know what hurts worse than that, but it's a lot of pain. But she still had a chance that she could have got that knockout, and the coaches didn't want her to give up. And look, man, sometimes that's what a coach does. Not just in sports. It's like, hey, you can't quit now. You might go get beat down in the next 30 seconds by the most vicious woman in the world. But you can't quit.
Great story, great testimony, man. One thing I want to just put forth to the Warriors and Wildmen, when you're talking about putting your kids in these kind of competitive sports, especially like martial arts and jiu-jitsu and stuff, in like you said, with this litigious environment where everybody's ready to sue, and if the coach goes hard on your kid or something, Mary Margaret and I purposefully did not attend the training of our daughters.
Wow.
We gave them wholly to the coaches.
That's pretty awesome.
To give them their own space, to let the coach, be appropriately hard and instructive upon them.
And you weren't their safety cord.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't, Daddy, help. And they're not wired like that to begin with. But, I wanted the coach to feel freedom. I wanted my daughters to feel that freedom, not that Mommy and Daddy are around every, minute of the day. And let the coach come in there and do his job, man. And, I don't know if that's for every parent out there.
Right.
But I would highly recommend you leaving that classroom, that dojo, that gym, or whatever, and let the coach, if you trust him, to do his frickin' job.
Yep, that's right.
And box your kids' ears, man. And
just like my dad did. It was like supporting the coach. When the kids look at you, you point at the coach. If you're there, point at the coach. Don't look at me. Yep. I'm not getting you out of there. Yeah, because kids need to have this. That builds confidence. Playing sports builds confidence. Competition builds confidence. It prepares you for life. Overcoming the fears of competition and failing. That's a real fear, man. We gotta learn to deal with that I remember being at bat, Doug. You dream, man, I want to be at bat to save the game. And then the time comes down to it, and you're the freaking guy.
Your balls are up in your stomach.
You're like, oh my gosh, I wish it wasn't me. Hit me with the pitch. Get me out of here. Do anything, And right. Doug, I've been that guy many times, and multiple times I failed. I didn't win the game. A few times I won the game, and it was awesome. But as I got older, I wanted to be the guy to be that guy, because then I felt like I could give us a chance. You know what I mean? Like, let me get in there because I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give us a chance anyway. It doesn't mean, look, man, it doesn't mean you're going to succeed every time. But you'll overcome the fears, and you start being the person that, hey, I'll be the go-to guy. I'll shove my vomit halfway back down my throat and get my stuff together and try to bring it for the team. But that prepares you for life, right? I mean, that's why we play sports.
So what does the Warrior and Wildmen need to do?
They need to get their kids in sports. Get your kid in a sport. Some sport. Pick a sport. And don't start calling like chess a sport. I'm a huge chess fan. Just don't try to call it a sport. Get them out there in a sport, especially a contact sport. And a whole nother podcast maybe for another day. Be careful of concussions. Letting your kids play football, man, I don't know about it. Unless your kids are big or the fastest kids on the block and they're going to get scholarships to Division I schools and make the pros. If they're not doing that, I don't know about letting your kids bang their heads all around. I mean, that's me and my 32 cents.
And I hate to be sound like a one-string fiddle, man, but especially if you got daughters, please, for the love of God and them, get them into jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu, specifically Brazilian jiu-jitsu, get them in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's great for girls, especially because it's designed for a smaller, weaker opponent to overcome a larger, more powerful attacker, and it's a great discipline. It's a great sport. It has a great mindset behind it too. And these guys it's not some. One thing I like about jiu-jitsu, Doug, it's not some Middle Eastern thing with weird religions and ancestor worship. Brazilian jiu-jitsu specifically, those guys are a bunch of Catholic guys. They're not worshiping anybody in their sport. It's a sport that's separated from all that stuff. So I think
and if the listener lives in South Florida, man, I would beat a path to Pedro and Guy, the Valenti brothers, and world-class fighters, man.
Yep.
My daughters, brother, they train with the best of the best fighters from all over the world. Mommy and Daddy weren't there.
Yep.
We would come for their belt ceremonies. We'd come, on particular tournaments and matches. But other than that, man, the coach is in there drumming greatness into their brain, teaching them how to kick ass, and appropriately hard on them when necessary. And second smartest thing I ever done in my life, big dog.
And if you got boys specifically, put them in wrestling. Wrestling will prepare you for life. Once you made it through wrestling practice, life is a piece of cake. So I'm a big advocate on wrestling because I'll tell you what, in any sport that you do, you need a coach. We've been talking about coaches. Get somebody that can bring out of you what you didn't know what was in you, that can push you farther than what you thought you could go, because it raises your level every time, creates a champion.
Yeah, and if you're a 12-year-old gymnast girl and he starts, wanting to take pictures of you naked, tell your dad.
Yeah, tell your dad and let your dad go punch him in the face before you go to court. That'll work.
All right, man. So what do we do, Rich?
Go to Warriors and Wildmen. Listen to our podcast. Sign up. I don't know. What are they supposed to do, Doug? They're supposed to register, review.
We're doing a soft launch on the website. Go over to warriorsandwildmen.com. We've got some products there. We're going to start loading that store down. We got some interesting little nuggets for the listener to walk away with that will further this conversation that we're having. Righteous and Rowdy Girls, great book. If you've got girls and you want them to again escape the teenage fart cloud, Raising Boys Feminists Will Hate, so politically incorrect, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
all biblically based stuff, and we're coming to you. We're gonna have events. We might not get to you, but you can come to us, and we're gonna kick them off in Arizona and in Texas. I'm having soirees about once a month, man. Rich, you ought to see the caliber of dudes that are coming.
That's awesome, man.
Absolute world shakers, brother.
That's what I'm talking about. And also, like Doug said, the webpage is still soft launch status. So you can go check it out. But we're getting ready to come out with the Warrior and Wildmen giveaway. That's classified what's in it, but it is definitely a few things that exemplify the Warrior and Wildmen. And I promise you will want it. You will want to win.
It's delicious. I'd take it. I was looking at some of the products, the big one in particular.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I already have one of what we're going to, afford to the lucky subscriber. But I was like, I think I need another one. I think
I have
my wife
something
needs one.
similar, but I need that one. Let me just throw that out there. One of the several things in the package, but it's going to be amazing. So make sure to sign up, subscribe, review us, go to Facebook, follow us, leave a comment. If you have an idea for a great podcast topic, let us know what it is. You just want to say, hey, what's up? We always try to answer your messages and talk to you guys. We love talking with you guys. Warriors and Wildmen.